I didn't tell him to do that.
Go ahead.
Are you ready? All right. Good evening and welcome to the Select Board's meeting for September 25th, 2023. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. My vice chair and I were just saying we think there's more people here tonight than voted in the last town election. So, must be ratings week. Okay, we're going to go right to open forum. Who is here for open forum? Kathy Wolf, Mary O'Connell. Do you want to come on down? Yep, you can come up to the table and just tell everybody why you're here.
Could you also just state your name and address, too?
Hi, my name is Mary O'Connell. I'm the president of the Old Bridgewater Historical Society. You need my home address?
Yes.
44 Michael Road, Bridgewater.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the treasurer of the Old Bridgewater Historical Society, Kathy Wolf, and I live at 272 Laurel Street here in East Bridgewater.
Now, are we addressing you or are we addressing the crowd?
You can talk to them, tell people why you're here, and
Okay.
do your thing.
The Old Bridgewater Historical Society partnered with the East Bridgewater Bicentennial Committee to celebrate the town's bicentennial. Over the summer, OBHS sponsored a scavenger hunt designed for people of all ages to encourage participants to collect information and photos of East Bridgewater's landmarks while exploring neighborhoods and learning about its history. 12 teams completed the hunt. They are Team Pimapage, Evaster, On the Hunt, Muse Sleuths, Over the Hills, Coven Treasurers, Wee Jennies, Dancing Divas, Slush Puppies, Marvelous Max, Joppa Sticks, and We Will Rock You. Some of the clues were difficult, especially clue number 12, which was Minister's Rock, clue number 9, which was the grave of a 107-year-old John Whitman, and clue number 6, the Tannery Stone. Kathy?
Yep. I want to see how many people can get the bonus points on this. Okay. Clue number 12 was locating Minister's Rock here in East Bridgewater. Who can tell me the name of the minister that carved the saying on the rock?
Not a
Dave
snowball's
Sheedy?
chance in
Saying?
Dave Sheedy?
Dave Sheedy. No, this gentleman also carved
my younger
one
brother.
at Solitude Rock in West Bridgewater, if that helps. And he wrote a book of poems. And he lived
No
from
way.
1824 to 1897.
He was older than me.
You have to tell them.
And
All
his,
right,
and his
all right.
first name was?
Timothy,
Uh,
Reverend Timothy Otis Payne, P-A-I-N-E. Okay, and for extra bonus, what church was he the minister of? Was Elmwood.
So you can see this was not an easy hunt. But 12 teams persevered, and we salute them. Those 12 teams are entered into a drawing for a prize basket of gift certificates from local businesses, which include Adria Restaurant, Ashland Farm Dairy, Bliss Through Yoga, C.N. Smith Farm, Central Street Cafe, Crochetti's, Dewhurst Hardware, Happy Frog, Harry's Pizzeria, Johnny Macaroni's, Satucket Pizzeria, Skinner's Sugar House, and Ye Old Standish Grill. And we thank them for sponsoring the scavenger hunt. And now we're going to have a drawing. All 12 teams are entered for the drawing for the basket, and we need someone.
He's co-chair of the Bicentennial Committee. We'll let Mr. Sheedy do it.
Okay, you can read the name of the team.
Team Joppa Sticks.
Team
Okay.
Joppa Sticks.
Lindley Bernard.
They won it. However, we have 2 follow-up prizes, which are not in fancy baskets like that. So I do need you to draw another one.
Team Page.
Team Page.
Captain Kathy Page.
Captain Kathy Page. And the third one?
Team Slush Puppies, Captain Shannon McNamee.
Thank you.
McNamee.
Thank you. Team
Thank you.
Slush Puppies.
Nobody's here, huh?
Is anybody here of those? I know we have one person from a team, but it must not be her team that won. So sorry.
Sorry.
They should get a prize for showing up.
I know. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Old Bridgewater Historical Society, we congratulate the winners, and we thank all the teams who participated in our scavenger hunt, and we hope they had fun. The Old Bridgewater Historical Society's next bicentennial event will be a cemetery tour on October 14th at the old graveyard across from Town Hall. And Kathy and I will be handling the tours. There will be 3 of them, one at 11 a.m., one at 12:15 p.m., and the third at 1:45 p.m., unless it rains. Unfortunately, we got rained out in the spring. And now we will turn this over to Dave and Dale and whoever is who's on next.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
they're
but-
not here.
I'm sorry, but for the scavenger hunt, we had so much fun. We learned so much about East Bridgewater. We came by to see everything. We're not gonna have the time to stay, but we wanted to say that was the fun thing. We got to spend more time with my sisters. We got to take so many pictures. And everywhere you look around, there's places that you never knew were even there. Little poems. We found the poem. So I'm sorry to interrupt, and it was awesome. And we're gonna go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the town of East Bridgewater and Bicentennial, just another great event that you people come up with for the Bicentennial, and things are continuing to move along. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mary. All right, is anybody else here for open forum? Seeing nobody, then we will close open forum and we will open our public hearing. Here, would you read the notice?
Yep. Notice is hereby given that the Select Board will conduct a public hearing regarding the application for a Class II license transfer filed by Kevin Thompson, 26 North Central Street, East Bridgewater, Mass. 02333. The public hearing will be held at Town Hall, first floor conference room, 175 Central Street, East Bridgewater, Mass. on Monday, September 25th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. I, Peter Spigone Jr.
Carol Julius?
Dave Sheedy.
All right, so the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here on behalf of the public hearing? Hi, you can come on up. Okay, you can come on up to the table. And you have a seat. So you're Kevin Thompson. You are the person that's purchasing the property.
Correct.
Okay. Can you just state your name and address again for the record?
Kevin Thompson, 48 Waverly Street, Brockton, Mass.
Great.
02301.
Okay, great. Questions?
And this is the Dave Batty property,
That's correct.
okay? And Kevin, what is your experience in auto repair and auto collision?
I've been in the auto collision industry since 2018. We have 3 locations. Well, this will be the 3rd location.
And where are they located, Kevin?
Brockton and Stoughton.
Norton, so, okay. You know, you have tough shoes to fill. Dave Batty's been there, I think, before I was born.
It's a well-loved
Only-
business in
only
East
kidding.
Bridgewater.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah. I think he probably survived just on my family.
That says a lot.
Yeah. But good luck. Yeah, all the paperwork is in order.
Yes.
And when do you anticipate passing papers on the property?
Next month on the 12th.
Okay, good.
Great. Peter, anything?
No, I talked to David in some length. He gave you high praises, of course, and I wish you as much success as David's had over there, for sure.
I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you guys
Great.
so much.
All right. And no one else is here on the public hearing to speak, abutters or anything? Okay. Rebecca?
So if you do approve this, could you do it pending receiving a $25,000 bond and workers' comp affidavit?
Okay. And you know about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I submitted that stuff already.
Okay.
Yeah,
You may want to check with Lee
okay.
in the
Oh, yeah.
selectman's office.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'll form that as a motion to grant the license, Class II license transfer to Kevin Thompson for the 26 North Central Street, East Bridgewater, with which is workers' comp.
Workers' comp
certificate.
affidavit and
Affidavit.
$25,000 bond.
Okay,
As stated.
Second. First of all, you have to motion to close the public hearing first.
Pass it first.
pass and then close, or close and then?
Close and then
the
pass.
public
All
hearing
right, so we'll
first.
close the public hearing. You can tell I've done a lot of these. And now motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Wish you the best of luck.
Really appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be up to see you shortly.
All right, our next appointment is with Dr. Michael Bankson and Ken Reale from the Community Garden representatives, if you want to come to the table. Did you get one of these?
Yep.
Hi,
Hello,
you could just introduce yourselves and your address
Sure.
for the record, please.
I'm Ken Reale, and you want my address too, 40 Shelby Court, East Bridgewater, representing the East Bridgewater Community Gardens.
My name is Michael Bankson, 16 Hudson Place in East Bridgewater. I work at Massasoit Community College. I teach biology and run their STEM programs.
Great. And I understand that you are here to discuss a request to expand the garden, so why don't you tell us?
Yes, we are
What's going on?
looking to expand in minimally the footprint of the garden. Right now, we have roughly 100 by 100 square feet, and we're looking to just push it out. On the south side, which is not apparent from the road, really, it's kind of hidden, it'd be 32 feet out approximately. And the reason for that is because the connection we have with Dr. Bankson here in Massasoit in their STEM program, we like to add a section for permaculture, blueberries. And we're hoping that we could get enough in there to keep his program going, to work well with his program. And there's a few things that could possibly, that we're also throwing in there too, like the possible addition of a greenhouse, small greenhouse. We'd like to use that to enable us to lengthen our season, possibly, and to also start our own plants instead of people buying them for transplant. Netting will be necessary for the bushes to prevent the crop from being eaten by birds, and there's a possibility that we may need more or an additional water supply, which right now we have one that's on the west side. We'd like to possibly run an addition to the center of the garden where it'd be more practical to get to everything. You know, and that's basically what I presented to the board. And there's a few things on the next page about the benefits of it. And if you look at what we're trying to do, it wouldn't cost the town anything. We're very self-sufficient. We run totally volunteers, and we like to think that we love gardening, which makes it a lot easier to get volunteers to do the work. And then just one last note, which you'll see on the bottom of that page, is that we've already made 13 donations this year to the food pantries in town, and we'd like to be able to expand that. And that's part of the connection with the blueberries, another crop that is a superfood, so to speak. So, and now I'll turn it over to
Great.
Dr. Bankson, who can explain the program. I can just say how impressive it is.
Well, the background is that about 10 years ago, the state of Massachusetts allocated a large sum of money, and each of the community colleges in the state was given, basically at a moment's notice, about $300,000 to do something to support STEM programming and feed the pipeline of more STEM-ready employees in the state. All the community colleges were given, the option to do whatever they felt was the best. And this was about the time that Massasoit hired me to run STEM programming. So what we did with that money was based on a huge amount of literature showing that undergraduate students who participate in research actually apply many of the principles that they're trying to learn in classes in the real world, and they become much more interested, much more engaged, much more functional, much more ready to go and transfer from a community college to a four-year school or potentially actually go get a job. So the way that we put this together at Massasoit was to come up with a single ongoing research project rather than the typical, one faculty member working with 1 or 2 students for a summer. We hire students as soon as we can, recruit them into the program. They can stay employed in our research program for the entire time at Massasoit. And kind of serendipitously, we landed upon this idea of studying native pollinators. It's a great topic because you don't have to be, a highly educated biologist or ecologist to understand that, pollinators are really important for our ecosystem. So even if you're just right out of high school, we teach you what you need to know, and we train you to do ecological research. You may have seen my students over the last decade running around Sachem Rock or even Leland Farms with their nets or putting out little colored cups to sample the native pollinator population. So we've been doing that for 9 years now, and we have a very powerful data set that's one of the best actual scientific contributions on this topic in the country. We present our data at a national meeting every year, the Ecological Society of America. But so far, this has been an observational study. We can tell you whether or not the native bees are really going away or they're not. The good news is, at least in Plymouth County, it doesn't appear that they're going to be gone anytime soon. But the next idea is based on the fact that the state has been funding this for 10 years around a very lucrative, not as much as the original $300,000, but it's been a great ongoing grant. Year after year, they keep reappropriating the money, but they haven't elevated it at all, and things are very much more expensive now than they were. Salaries have gone up, a lot at the community college. Minimum wage has gone from $9 or whatever it was when it started to $15. So we're looking to expand our program. It's got great results. Our students are doing great things. We have about 100% transfer to a 4-year school rate within this group of students. About 10% of them end up going to graduate school. It's very successful. What we would like to do now is expand into we'd like to add on to the observation of the bee population to a little bit more controlled experimental question. And there's some funds available from the USDA and also the National Science Foundation to support work like this. So we're going to write a grant that will, fund planting test crops like blueberries, as well as our students participating in, working with the garden club, working with other local gardens. We'll ask the Stonehill Farm to do something similar. The idea being that if you have a piece of property like the Sachem Rock Farm and have reasonably good sustainable landscaping techniques like is going on there, the native pollinators should be very healthy. So we would like to use that piece of property and others like it to study the interaction of the native wild bees with important food crops. It's difficult to do with annuals because, 1 year it's all tomatoes and next year it's cucumbers, whatever. So the idea is to plant something that would grow year after year so we can study what the native pollinators are doing in relationship to something like blueberries. Blueberries are native to this part of the country. They don't need a lot of pesticide, and like Ken mentioned, it's a superfood. It's actually a more sustainable crop than, tomatoes and cucumbers and summer squash. We have developed the ability in our laboratory to add on to our field work, just counting bees, the ability to take the pollen from the bees that we catch, extract the DNA and sequence it. And this is pretty crazy for a community college because, 10 years ago, it just wasn't an option to sequence DNA in a small academic lab, but you can do that now. So we're training students in both ecology, good science, some hardcore biotech techniques, data management. We train them to speak in public, statistics, the whole 9 yards. So it's a great opportunity for students to actually learn how to do something real. And there's also a huge opportunity for, interaction with the town of East Bridgewater and other, small local groups. I have my students go out and give a presentation to garden clubs and elementary schools and things like that on the importance of paying attention to what's going on in the ecosystem and, how important, those bees and other things that pollinate are. So all I'm here to ask for is just a letter of support to strengthen our grant application to the USDA and the NSF coming up December-ish, when we'll, have all of that prepared to submit to the funding agencies. It's not a guarantee for sure, but the more support we have from folks like you to put in with our application, the stronger it will be. And frankly, when I go to other places and, small farms and whatnot, I'm going to hopefully leverage the fact that, well, I have support from the, East Bridgewater, selectmen, so, you're in good company to support us catching a few bees and studying what they're doing on your small farm or local garden, or, even residents that might have, a small hobby orchard or something like that. Because the plight of the native bees is sort of a bellwether for the plight of the whole economy. So it's kind of a win-win thing, but it's no guarantee.
Right, great. That sounds great, and I appreciate you saying that, but the blueberries are perennials, basically, rather than annuals, and that the difference in that. Because you can come sample the bees on my dahlias, but, if I don't plant my dahlias next year, then you wouldn't have that.
It's a long-term study.
Right. Questions?
First of all, I want to, thank Ken and all the people involved in the community garden. It's just, it seems like every year or so there's a new project being added down there, and I did spend some time down with the doctor and Ken and the doctor's wife a while ago, listening to this, how he was putting this together, and it, not understanding all of it, but it was just amazing that a small project like this, and as you just added it, this can spread because, it's going to start here.
Right.
And get our support, I'm sure. How many students have you put through this program, Doctor?
We've had about 105 or 110 interns that have actually been employed doing this work over the past 10 years. We have a whole bunch of other STEM students, but about, a little over 100 that have actually been employed and worked with us.
Did you tell me when we met that one of them is off to the Midwest for a doctorate's degree? It started with your program.
This young man was a Brockton High dropout trying to get his GED at Massasoit, and one of the counselors there brought him to talk to us, and he was very rough at the beginning, but he's been, he always came to the garden for work parties. Every single time, Matthew.
I know Matt. Yeah.
He just began a PhD program at Iowa State, and he's still studying, bees.
That's amazing. We have a lot of educators in the room tonight, so I think that's such a great thing to hear.
And I'm sure they're thinking about when can they get someone from your group down to talk to their schools
Absolutely.
about this, so they'll be getting to you very shortly, I'm sure. No, I think it's a great an expansion of the community garden. Like I said, they just do tremendous work down there every year, and this is something that everyone should be looking forward to. Though we don't understand exactly everything, just to see that we're doing something like that in a small time like this, for a small little garden that started,
Right.
7 or 8 years ago now we started.
I think it started in 2016, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And,
awesome.
We have
And,
a tremendous group.
It is. It's always great to get down there, and the effort, and it doesn't matter what the weather is, they're down there. And, yeah, I think it's a great move. I totally support it.
Peter?
Yeah, no, David said pretty much everything we need to say. I would say is Ken, congratulations for the work that you've put in down there, and then to, bring in people like this gentleman that's so passionate about what he's talking about. Again, I don't know all of what he was saying, but I do know that the passion came through, and the program's been working great, and, you can tell that you've put your time and energy into that, and I appreciate that most, when someone really goes above and beyond to make what their passion is reality. So congratulations.
Great.
Thank you very much.
And the kudos go to the people in the garden, and his students. I think, as an outsider, I think the best sales pitch you could ever make is to have people see your students in action.
Yeah, I think it's terrific. It's something for us to be really proud of as a community, and thank you for the work you do. And I volunteered to make the first blueberry pie, so.
Sounds good.
Do we want to take action item number 7 now and vote on that?
Yes, please.
So I'll make a motion to, 2 motions actually, into one, to expand the community garden as documented in the paperwork that we have here, as well as support the program and grant being worked on by Mr., I'm sorry, that's your last
Dr.
name.
Bagginson.
Dr. Bagginson.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
folks.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our next appointment is with the town moderator, who's not here, but our town clerk is here. And Chris Kenny is here to go over the warrant. I mean, we pretty much did this last week, but we can do it again if you, what's the pleasure of the board?
I know we had a big rating week last week, so I think everyone's probably asked us all the questions they need, unless, town clerk wasn't here last week,
Katie,
last
do you have
meeting.
anything? Any questions or about anything in the warrant? No. Okay.
No?
Okay. All right, that's good. That gets us back on schedule too, which is always a nice thing.
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll pass that over.
All right, so we'll pass that over, and we will go to our appointment with our superintendent, Liz Legault, to discuss the feasibility study for the Central Elementary School. They're not making you come up there by yourself, are they?
Oh, yeah. I think Mrs. Byrne can do it much better.
Thanks.
I didn't think there'd be that many people here, so I only made 15. Wasn't sure it would be like a school committee meeting. Brian, wanna come up? Please.
Do you know we need him for executive? Do we need him for executive?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
So thank you, and I want to thank the Central School Building Committee. We started our meetings last week. We have to run on the MSBA timeline. Carol, you're part of that as the Board of Selectmen, so I want to thank you. Thank Dr. Gina Williams, our School Business Administrator John Shea, Central School Principal Kate Byrne, Select Board Chair Carol Julius, Town Administrator Charlie Seelig, Town Facilities Manager Brian Kiley, Town Accountant Melanie Dean, Town DPW Director John Haynes, Community Member Architect Mr. David Horton, and Community Member of Construction Mr. Donald McDougall. I want to thank everybody. This is the beginning of the process. We're here tonight just to talk about the feasibility study. What are we capable of? What can feasible means, what are we capable of doing? That's what feasible is, and that's really where we're at. We follow the MSBA timeline. We are on time with all of the deliverables that we have to do. And we'll go through a few of those things, but I certainly want Mr. Kiley to talk about the facilities and why we're here tonight, and also Mrs. Byrne as the principal of Central School to talk about what it is we're looking for, what it is we need, and why we're here. So a feasibility study is required by the MSBA, And feasible, I just said, is to be capable of doing something, capable of being done. That's what feasible means. The feasibility study will carefully examine potential solutions to the issues identified at the central school and will help us develop the most cost-effective plan to either renovate or for a total reconstruction. The feasibility study will identify the mechanicals, ADA compliance, interior, exterior spaces, the aging of our facilities. Enrollment projections will be a considering factor. Our enrollment projections, on a meeting last week with the MSBA, they are increasing, whether that's due to the COVID that we're going to see in 2026. We're starting to see a growth in our enrollment projections, and we'll talk about that later, and municipal growth. They took that into consideration. Why and how we are here and what we have done and the projects that have been going on at Central School. We did a boiler project in 2019 for $1,619,000. We were reimbursed by the MSBA of 56.26%, which was $568,012. We did a roof project in 2021 for $1,831,614. We were reimbursed by the MSBA at 57.74% at $939,102. We then, at that point, decided to put a statement of interest and submitted a statement of interest on March 2022 to see if the MSBA would look at Central School for a core program review. We are accepted into the MSBA on December 21st, 2022. The MSBA eligibility period began on April 3rd, 2023. We ask you to please see the chart for timetable, and that's, you can press on a link. We must follow the table according to MSBA. I also discussed at several school committee meetings prior to tonight and the budget hearing of 2023, talking about we were getting ready to either renovate or reconstruct and looking for a building project for the central school. We have 270 days to complete the eligibility period of deliverables by 12/29/23. On September 29th, this Friday, Mr. Kiley will submit the next deliverable, which is all the mechanicals and talking about the facilities itself. The core program statement of interest and how we got to the feasibility study. 37 schools applied, 5 schools admitted into the core program. East Bridgewater Public Schools, or the Central School, was one of 5. This is a competitive process to be considered for a core program. If you go onto the link of the massschoolbuildings.org, you can follow the process. I gave you an overview of what that is, and I can read it. I think people can read it up on the board. I certainly don't want to take the time away from Mr. Kiley and Mrs. Byrne. We're here this evening to start the conversation about a feasibility study, not about do we build a new school, do we move the school, do we look for a new home for the school. All we're looking for this evening is to go to town meeting on October 3rd, second, Monday night, October 3rd, and to see if the town will fund a feasibility study. It's the only way we will ever know what needs to, if we can reconstruct or if we can renovate. They have put us in they told us both times when we met with them for the roof project and the boiler system, that the building has good bones. However, we have some shortcomings, some shortfalls in there. We have terrific teachers, amazing teachers. We have amazing students, terrific administrator who leads along with her staff. It needs some help. It's old. But I think with time we can know exactly what it needs and how to get there. So I turn it over to Mr. Kiley to talk about the statement of interest and the critical factors.
Echoing on what Liz just said about it's old, yeah, the main building is 72 years old. And it really has not had any major renovations with the exception of the boiler room and the roof. The addition is 60 years old, and the modular units are 70 years old. It's old, it's tired, and it needs a lot of work. And the town has an opportunity here to partner with the MSBA that would pay for 50% of it. The mechanical systems are old. HVAC systems do not meet the 21st century air quality that we need. COVID showed us that. The windows in the building, 80% of them don't operate. The criteria that the MSBA uses, versus the other 37 districts that applied, it goes by age of building and the need for a 21st century safe, secure facility. And it's old. The present conditions aren't really conducive to a positive learning environment. And I don't know if you've been in the building lately, but, take a tour. It looks like it did 72 years ago. Just different little kids in it. We try over the past, since I've been here, given the fiscal and physical resources that we have, we try to maintain the building as best we can, but it's getting very difficult. The plumbing is decayed, the plumbing piping is decayed, it's a constant ongoing battle. But, it's an opportunity that the town needs to look at to see exactly what is feasible. Because eventually something is gonna have to be done. Whether we do it ourselves or we partner with the MSBA, something's gonna have to be done. And we have an opportunity here where, the other two projects we've done with them proved to be very beneficial to us. So, I think it's a good thing. Part of that admission process, by the 29th, I'll have to submit to the MSBA a maintenance and capital plan. It's pretty much already done, just have to review it and hit submit, and then it goes in electronically. And that's where we're at right now. It's just following the process of the MSBA. Kate can speak to how, the physical constraints of the building and how it impacts the educational process and the occupants of the building.
Thank you, Brian. And I just want to kind of piggyback on some of the things that Mr. Kiley just talked about, because the shortcomings in the mechanicals and the facilities that he talked about obviously also impact the educational program at Central School. So, I'm going to tackle some more things to be just about what 21st century learning looks like and where we have some challenges. But the failures of some of those systems, those shortcomings, when we're talking about the plumbing, the leaks that we have, the clogged drains that we have, that we've had for 2 years, that we can't operate, things in our kitchen, can't wash any of their laundry or linen, so they don't use them, because we can't even fix the problem. Some of the problems are so deep within our walls from the plumbing, that's the clogs and the leaks, and to fix them really opens up a whole other can of worms of what's behind those walls. And when we talk about 21st century learning, we're really talking about the demands we have on the electrical at Central School. I'll tell you now, on the 63 side of the building, we're blowing circuits on that main floor and on that bottom floor because we can't handle the electrical output that we need for 21st century learning. You've got this beautiful panel. We have these beautiful touch-view panels in all of our classrooms. We have Chromebooks. We have document cameras. We have these Juno speakers that amplify a teacher's voice because that's what's good for 21st century learning and for students to attend. And we're blowing circuits because we can't handle the electrical output. Some of the other things that we talked about with the ventilation is the environment within the classrooms when you think about climate control. We don't have any. We love that new boiler. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. The univents are just as old as they ever were. We didn't replace those. So none of that work has been done. So we have leaking univents that we turn off so they're not pushing out any heat anymore. Or we have spiraling little univents that make so much noise we have to turn them off from the fan because you won't be able to hear the teacher talk. We have rooms that when it's really hot or in the 90s, even with an AC vented out the window, which again pulls on that electrical, but just trying to cool off the facility. Granted, we talk about that at the beginning of the year, we talk about that at the end of the year, but those periods of long heat can last a lot longer than they used to. Some of the other things about the mods that we talked about that came on in 2006, I have that up there listed as well. Met the need. It's fantastic for our preschool population. It was a wonderful addition in 2006. We use it really well. We've lost days in preschool because those have their own rooftop heating and cooling vents, which is great. You can have AC, but in extreme cold, they freeze. 2 years ago, we lost several days of preschool. We had to shut preschool down because we couldn't heat the classrooms. We have flooding issues at Central School. So that little alcove where the mods are in the main part of the building from 1951, there's like a little alcove there. Used to be a shed. There's that nice little slope that comes down. It floods regularly. A drain was put in a couple of years ago. Mr. Noble here at the time had just come on, which was great. It helped alleviate a lot of the flooding. But with recent rain and the recent tropical conditions that we have, we've been flooding. We have water that comes in one door in the hallway, goes through the hallway, out the other door. So it comes in one and goes out the other. It floods that bottom floor, that bottom room on the main part of the building, and it just happens to be with the grade of the the land and the slope that we're at. So we're constantly dealing with those issues. We smile, we vacuum it up, we put in the dehumidifier, off we go, we paint the walls, people smile, and we continue to make our lemonade. But every day we're asking the teachers and the students at Central School to be super flexible in anything that they do, and they do it. But what we need to do is also think about long-term solutions to these problems, because right now, not only are the facilities an issue, our space is an issue. Current enrollment projections are looking that we're going to be growing over the next couple of years, and the 10-year projections will grow pretty steadily, which is great to see. But with that being said, I have a lot of non-traditional teaching spaces. So that means I have old storage rooms and closets that we've converted for teaching spaces. I have teaching spaces because I've converted them that are also, you have to go through one room to another room to interrupt the lesson or the confidentiality of a student. I have testing that happens in hallways because we don't have a lot of space. I have a room that has 5 service providers that provide wonderful opportunities for students, but they all have to share one space, and they can't necessarily fit. The other problem, I don't have enough outlets to run their computer. And so these are some of the challenges that we're faced with every single day at Central School. We do it with a smile. We make anything we have work. Paint can fix a lot of things, but it can't fix the things that are behind the walls. And those are our biggest issues, really. Plumbing and electrical are what really need to be fixed, and space. And so if we look at the age of the mods in 2006, I believe they typically say like roughly 15 years is a good life expectancy for that type of a facility. We've had it longer than that, and we do our best to maintain it, and I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for the town. I'm grateful for MSBA for partnering with us for those mini acceleration projects that we've already had. And throughout all those projects, a feasibility study was also necessary. So again, here it's just about being educated about what are solutions to all these problems we have at Central School, and what's the most cost-effective way to potentially address them. That's the purpose of the feasibility study, and that's the information that's going to bring us. Because ultimately, when the day is done, I want all students in East Bridgewater to learn and grow and play in a healthy, safe facility. And I think that we all want that. And right now I can tell you they're having a great time learning and growing and playing, and the teachers and staff are phenomenal, and so are the students and the families. That's what makes the school. I think we'd agree to that. But the facility needs to match what's in it.
Thank you.
So just a couple of quick remarks is that the MSB provided us some guidance on what it would cost at this time. Only guidance. They didn't say it's going to cost this, it's going to cost that. Between $1 million and $1.5 million. If you look on the next page, we've got some comparables. Easton, nobody has 500. Well, the closest one would be the K through 5 at 478 in Burlington. But Easton, we're PK through 2. We're pre-kindergarten through 2nd grade. We have 516 and growing. So if you look to see what at that one school that that Easton just built was $1 million. It was K through 2 for $235. She's district-wide at $760. It was $1 million. So if you look at, this is what they gave us for the town to look at and to see what we could appropriate. The asterisks from the appropriations table, they denote preferred solution of the project was a new building K through 5. Preferred solution of the project is a new building 3 through 5. Preferred solution of project is a new building, K through 2 district-wide. Capacity analysis determined ability to consolidate the Heatherly and Cushing elementary schools, therefore no study enrollment projections. And preferred solution of the project is a new building, PK through 4 consolidation with the Hopedale Elementary School. Why I added those was when they come in to do the feasibility study, they may say, they asked, what would you like to do with, the third grade? This used to be a PK through 3. We moved the third grade to the Mitchell School. We moved 7 and 8 to the high school. I did ask those questions in a meeting. Mr. Seelig was there. If we were to move the 7th grade back, we would have to pay the MSBA back because we bought the high school. I don't think that's feasible. But they will look at the third grade. Just to see if that would be something that we would do. They will look at the Mitchell School, but most of their time will be concentrated at the central school or looking at a new location. If they deem it appropriate, that it would just be a reconstruction, they would stay, or not reconstruction, a renovation, and an add-on, they would just stay right here. But they could move and say, we recommend reconstruction. I don't see that because of they wouldn't have gone so far with a boiler system and a roofing system, or a new roof. So that's my thoughts. And funding, how it works, this is just an example that they came up with, is state reimbursement rate at 57.74. Example would be an $80 million project plus a $1.5 million feasibility study is 81.5. The MSB reimbursement at 57.74% would be, they would pay $47 million of the project. The EB town cost would be $33 million. The feasibility study will be reimbursed at this rate if the town moves forward. This is a hypothetical amount being used. I have no idea. You can visit the MSB website at www.massschoolbuildings.org. You can send questions. I'm going to be setting up a central school building email from ebps.net. We'll send that out so that anybody can send in questions. We're going to start posting things up on our website and have a central school building project website so people can ask questions where we are in the project and the timeline. We're really, at this point, we are in the deliverable stage of just getting our information into the MSBA, getting all of the information from facilities, from the schools into the MSBA. We're sort of just giving information. They did ask Mr. Seelig and myself last week. This was on the town warrant. We said yes, that it was, and that it would be going for a vote next Monday night. So we did confirm to them on that. That's where we were. They're waiting for from Brian Kiley to submit on Friday the 29th, and then that will be the last of what we have to submit prior to the town meeting. We go to town meeting, 2/3 vote, from my understanding, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Questions? Thank you. That was very thorough. I mean, I heard a lot of it, so I feel like it's best for my colleagues to ask questions, since I asked questions last week at our meeting, and I don't want to, but that was a very thorough presentation. Thank you. Peter?
Yeah.
Mr. Sheedy's yielding. He never
Is he?
yields.
Wow. You sure?
I'm saving the best for last.
So yeah, I've heard information regarding the school. Let me start off by no one better than Kate to talk about this. We've worked together for close to 10 years now over at that school. I certainly know what it looks like. I certainly know the hills you have to go over to get some of that stuff done over there. And again, I think with her passion and Brian's knowledge, I think it's the right two people to kind of lead the way on the questions and answers. The concerning thing is that I have personally would be the fact that is the timing and the information that gets out to the voting public. And I say this based on the fact that, I've been through now maybe 3 or 4, and the board was with me on a couple of these feasibility studies. And look, you just don't know who you're going to get in the room, right? Who shows up that night? Who has bad dinner? I mean, all kinds of factors roll into this. So I'm concerned, I guess, and I had to pretty much go through some of the stuff myself to figure out what the questions I would have if I stood up in front of you and said, look, it's a big deal. It's $80 million, and we all agree the school needs to be fixed. There's no doubt. There needs to be some sort of either, to your point, either a new school or a renovated school over here. I guess I'd ask Brian, the first question would be, so based on that $3 million we invested since 2019, have we asked the question, or could have we asked the question to the MSBA, like, are they going to say, look, we've given you this type of money already, we're staying here. Like, there's no reason to start looking at other areas, based on the money that you've received.
They haven't come out and said that,
Okay.
and we just have to follow their process. And when you're in their core program, you have to do the feasibility study. It's one of their mandates.
So you can't ask that question, or, I mean?
I don't think they'd answer it. I'll try, but I really don't think I would get an
Right.
answer.
Because I know with some of
Because
these,
they're gonna want to know for themselves before they give us or release that kind of money,
sure.
what else might be feasible, regardless of the investment that we've already made and they've already made in that building.
Yep.
Maybe it makes more sense to go
Well,
elsewhere.
to some
I don't
degree,
know.
yeah. The other question would be like, do we have, I know when we did the high school, and I've had a couple of people reach out to me that was on that committee. I think you might have sat on that one as well. I know John has, Teresa McNulty, a few others. Have we looked at a few, like, areas that we would specifically say, hey, look, there's Leland Farms, there's, this space here, or is it just, here's the town of East Bridgewater, here's a Google map, good luck? I mean, how does that work?
That's part of the feasibility study.
So they have to look at the whole map themselves? We can't, because it looks like to me in some of my notes that back in.
We could probably point them in the direction of maybe some property the town owns,
Right.
that, property we wouldn't have to purchase.
Yep. Yeah,
And
because
there
I
are
think
probably a
that,
couple of sites in town.
I would hope
that
so,
be
yeah.
Feasible.
because when you look back on some of the things I see here in this presentation, a few, one of the things that stuck out to me was we're asking for somewhere between $1 and $1.5 million. And the town's obviously on the hook for half of that. Some of that money only is used if we can kind of curve some of those questions, I would assume. If we're not saying, go look at 5 or 6 properties, here's 2 or 3, I'm hoping that we can bring back some of the dollars and cents that we spend. At least that's what we've done with some of the other projects. Not the same type of project, huge project here. We're talking about a $50,000 feasibility study, or I think it was, the other one that we had done was about $100,000. I mean, this is, $1.5 million potentially for feasibility. So there's some room there, but there's a lot more, a lot more material that you need to get from them in order to do that. So I don't know. I wish I had more time with this, I guess is what I'm saying.
Peter, I did ask those questions.
Okay.
I asked them in front of the group when we were at, in the mods, when we all sat there, and I invited everybody to come in on that day. And I asked those questions, and when I said, can we bring the 3rd grade back? So you're telling me you want to bring the 3rd grade back? I said, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
They were very strict. They're very regimented. They don't, like, when they said guidance, they're like, we're not telling you, we're just saying, compared to what you're doing and to the surrounding communities and to the communities that we just finished, we're looking at $1 million, $1.5 million. We did, KBA Architects came in and looked at the turf over the summertime. We just got that back, right? That was $48,000. I think they did it in a month time, maybe? 3 weeks. Still in the process. This is gonna take months. We did bring up places in the town. And I think it's Mrs. Daniels was at the table, and she said, when they come in to study, they take everything into consideration. Even if we were to say, this is where we want it, one of the things, if that's where you want it, go build it. That's how it came across to us. If that's where you want it, you go build it. To them, it's them looking at it and them telling us what they can do and how they're going to do it. I think that's one of the reasons West Bridgewater funded their entire project when they did their high school. They didn't go to MSBA because they knew what they wanted, they knew where they wanted to put it, and they funded it. I'm following their cue on this. They only allowed us to put the Central School Building Committee in June. Having meetings and things in the summer, maybe we could have had another meeting, but it was hard to even get meetings in July, after the 4th of July, and even our own meetings. We don't even have school committee meetings in July. We start them August 19th. By the time I got that going, we were at Kate's school with brochures on the first day going out. Right now, I get it, it's $1 million for a feasibility study. But if we don't go out for the feasibility study, we won't know.
Right.
I know that Mr. Seelig said, you know, you could put it off to December. If we put it off to December, we have till 12/29. If we don't get it in by then we're out of the program.
Yeah, well, the flip side of that, though, Liz, is if you get in front of people, they don't have the answers to the questions they're gonna ask, then
Right.
you're completely out of.
Right, I agree, but I think that knowing that we have gone through a roof and a boiler system, I've been talking about whether it was the AstroTurf or whether it's Central School, it's been on all of our budget hearing presentations, and it's been at school committee meetings of things that we have to do at facilities. This hasn't just said, oh my God, we need a roof next year. We've planned these things. So this is part of that project of going out, asking the town for a feasibility study. You know, I wanted to come here first. I went to the school committee last week. I think that's the way to go and follow their rules so that we don't go out of line. Like some of the things we can't write in until we get the feasibility study done. I think if we can get this through, that's when we open it up and we say, okay, what can of worms is going to happen if we go in this direction? I don't think there's any doubt that we need a new building, renovation, not reconstruction, or a new space. We need some type of new spacing and some mechanicals. It's the right thing to do. I get what you're saying. They don't give you any time. There's not a lot of time to do this. I know they're pushing us. I mean, you were on all those emails prior to Carol now being, all those emails from Nina. I called MSBA today and asked them a specific question. I got back from them, we need to go to our legal team before we can answer that. All I asked was, am I right there was 37 districts starting? I want to make sure that I have that right, because I wrote that down the other day. I want to make sure I have it, because there's nothing in writing on it. It's just, this is who started. I'll have to go to the legal team to see if we can tell you that. So, I mean, it's very difficult, and
Yeah, I've dealt with them. I've said,
Yeah.
and I think, on a smaller scale, but still to the fact where, when you're trying to put these things together, yeah, I mean, if you listen to one meeting or you listen to 50 meetings, you'll hear me say all the time, municipal government sucks. I mean, this is what I say, I mean,
It's
everything.
just slow.
It takes
Until
so
it's
much time
fast.
to do. But, that being said, and I don't want to, I certainly don't want you to think, I'm all in on the project. There's no doubt, 100%. And I think it's time and it needs to be done. And of course, with the MSBA, it makes even more sense to recoup some of the money. I just know standing in front of an audience of who knows
10
who,
or 500.
right, whatever. I don't think it will be that many, but it certainly will be some people standing there. And their question's going to be, one, where are we getting the money for? And number two, how are we paying for this in the long run? Things of those natures. And I think, I don't think the information, it certainly hasn't gone out. May have Central School, you said you went through there, you've got a core people group there, right?
Yes.
That's fine. But they're not the only ones flipping the bill here, and
No.
to me, it's like, I haven't met anyone, sat with anyone, just when I started, asking questions, that has said to me, oh yeah, I know exactly what's happening here, I know exactly what's going on. So I'm stating a concern, that's all. And I don't want to see this thing blow up, because you got one shot here. That's usually how these things work, because if you try to come back after you got shot down, you know what they're going to say.
Right.
You're already
Well, and we
here.
lose our spot, too.
Right, yeah,
Right,
that's
and-
another factor, right. So just a point of interest to you
Yeah.
that might come from someone that's sat in front of people and had good success. And John will tell you too, we've done a lot of projects together and have ones where I say, we're gonna table this just based on who was sitting in that room.
I do this you do it all the time, I do it all the time.
Yep.
We had a football stadium, turf, that in August, I was given it on my desk. Either shut the field down or figure out what you guys are gonna do. And within 24 hours, I said, no, we're gonna bring people in, we're gonna do this. John Shea helped, Brian Kiley was on it, Patrick Leonard. We had everybody there within 3 days, and then, Liz, can we do this and get KBA architects in here? Because that field has recreation and has all of our athletics on it. And I didn't want to do that to kids.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, and now we're in a feasibility study for that, to make sure that have the right padding and we've done a great job at caring for that field, and it's getting to its term. Now we're talking about a school
Right.
that's tired and worn, that has our most vulnerable kids in the district there. A 3.5-year-old child cannot do much by him or herself without support. And we start at 3.5, and we go to age 7 to get out of there. If you're at the later age 8, at grade 2, going into grade 3. This is part of it, and I get it, and we'll have to think about that. Do we hold on and ask to come back in November? I don't know if, it's a feasibility study. Either way, it's I don't know what it is. Say it's $1 million, it's $1 million. They can shoot it down Monday, or they can shoot it down in November. And then we're going back down to the bottom to say, oh, we knew it was worn, it's been there the whole time, the mods are getting tired, the HVA system's getting that, we closed school last year, John Haynes, the water department were out there. Brian, on one day, we got it open, the second day, we couldn't open it. They went a day extra, they went one more day than the whole district last year.
And it was a Monday.
So, we do that all the time, but go ahead, Kate.
No, I was just,
Went into the extra week.
Right.
I mean,
Are you set?
I'm saying something I think is, I'm stating the obvious a bit, but one, yes, it's important for the community to be informed and to also feel the power behind this decision. But ultimately, what the decision does is it informs the entire community in town about the needs and then real cost-effective solutions for them. It doesn't pinpoint to say that you have to do one thing over the other. The committee in the town makes the decision based on all of that information. I think the reality is, yes, there's a hefty price tag because there's a lot to evaluate. They're looking at the interior structures of the facility, the exterior, the lot, the small postage stamp that we live on at Central School, the parking, all of that. They look at our entire interior and exterior facilities. So that information is vital to any future decisions the town makes, whether it chooses to move forward with MSBA or not. And so I think that's the information that we need. We're educators. Knowledge is power. You can't make an informed decision without that information. And so we need those experts that do that feasibility study to help the town make the best decision for the community. And so at $1 million, it's quite an investment, but so is the children in East Bridgewater, the community moving forward, and if you're going to open up a new facility or remodel this school, you want to do it well, and you want to make sure that you've done your due diligence.
My other concern is the ADA compliance. Our elevator doesn't even go up to the.
We don't have an
second
elevator.
floor. Or the lift doesn't even go to the second floor.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that, it has to be done. My concern is, to Kate's point, that information you give them, that knowledge you give them is the power. I just don't know if, you do that at, the first time you give them that information is when you're asking them for, $1 million+. That's just me. You'll see what happens when you get to the floor. It's certainly, on you guys in this committee to make the decision to go forward. You gotta be prepared. I've been up there again. Last thing I'll say is I've been up there and had some positive results, and I've been up there and they're waiting for me in the parking lot. So that's basically it.
Well, that's better than before you walk in the building.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Mr. Sheedy?
If I could just, piggyback a lot being said tonight. First of all, I'm 100%, something has to be done over there. And if I could, use Kate's quote, knowledge is power. The problem that I'm seeing right here is I don't believe the town residents have this knowledge right now. And that's why I'm not too sure, if you can tell me, if we bypass it on Monday, and we move it up until November, that gives us 2 or 3 months to get out to the people, so the people will totally understand, because I'm afraid if they go there and they say, regardless of everything that's being said tonight, we just don't understand it. We haven't had any, that's your decision, that's not ours. But my thing is, I've had a lot of calls, a lot of people talking the last week or so. What are you talking about? Well, I understand not everyone watches our meetings, and they don't watch the school committee meetings.
Hard to believe.
I know it's incredibly hard to believe, but it's factual, even ratings week. So, and that's my concern is, I think the knowledge is not out there. Is the need out there? Absolutely, 1,000,000% the need is out there. But let's have the people get enough information so they can sit there and say, sure, that's why we're doing it, Is it needed? Yeah, but this is why it's needed even further than we've gone tonight.
And Dave,
That's my-
I hear what you and Peter and Carol are saying, and I agree. I was given October 2nd as the date.
Right.
That's what I was given. Friday, Mr. Seelig came down and he said, Liz, maybe you should put it out. I was given that date. I was following the MSBA calendar. And then last Friday was the first time someone had said, maybe you should put the brakes on, and maybe Tuesday, we talked about it, and
We
then
met
Friday.
Tuesday, yeah.
It was like, we don't know. Last year's budget hearing, we asked for $26 million from the town. 13, on top of our Chapter 70. I think there was 3 people there. It's scary when we say this, we need people there. I'll go every place. I'll have a meeting every night if I have to, and sit and wait. That's not my concern is not that. My concern is, I want to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons and holding off and saying, okay, let's go for November. And if it's November for another special town meeting, I'll certainly do it. If we think that that's the best way to go about this, I would go, I listen to you, Dave, because you know the community. And if you're saying November's the date, that's fine. I was given October 2nd after school. I mean, it was
Because
probably
we had
late
that
August.
scheduled, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's how it was. So it was sort of like, okay, so we went to open house, we've passed out brochures, it's been in meetings, I've talked about the school committee, and you're right, who watches them and who comes.
But now, because
Right.
word is slipping by everyone, being totally misinformed,
Sure.
saying, hey, they just want $1.5 million, whatever. They already did this, they've already done that, so now they need $1.5 million. Well, what are we gonna do after $1.5 million? We're gonna go on to something else. No, I said, it's to study what we need. And I haven't had a person that I've talked to yet that said, it's not the case we don't need it.
Right.
It's the case, where are we going with it?
Right.
Could they be moving it to another location? That's a part of the study. Could they just be adding another and then renovate? That's another portion of the study. But they're hearing that from me. And other people are out there, they don't know, well, they can call Peter or Carol if they want, but they're
We
just,
just don't call him.
they're concerned.
Right.
They're concerned, and I understand that. And everything you're saying is 100% correct. I just think, given the short notice that they felt that they had, if we go with next Monday, I'm not too sure. And if we go Monday, I don't know if we can go back again and have the same conversation
Okay.
in November. I don't know if
And
we're allowed to even do that.
And that's your position in the steering committee. If that's what you think, then we can certainly go back and say, okay, are you willing to give us another town meeting in November? And that's
Travis
got,
said December, I think.
yeah, but I would think if we're nervous about, December 29th, that's the cutoff date.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, do we do it before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving? I mean, that's how I'm looking at it, before or after Thanksgiving. What's the best to do? When are people home? Who's going to come to the meeting? How are we going to get the vote? And schools are just in session, not just, but August 31st, August 30th. We're here. People are still excited about schools. I think that's maybe why October 2nd was a good push. I don't know. If you think November's the best, then we'll certainly do it, and we'll start, and we'll just go full throttle.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
I think you have to bring that to your committee.
Yeah, I will.
And do we have enough of the, do we need someone on that committee from capital, finance, stuff like that? I know it was put together, but even that may have to be looked at this
Yeah,
stage.
the MSB tells you who
Oh,
is
really?
on.
That's
Yeah,
nice of them.
yeah. So I mean, that's why everything's
they were
directed on this.
Right.
The school committee is
That's why-
voting on their meeting to
I
put
didn't
someone.
volunteer for this.
Yes, you did. We volunteered,
So
I believe.
I get it, and we'll certainly go back, and I'll let you know tomorrow,
Okay.
and I'll put it out to the
I
team.
will say, my concern is the end game, right, which is to get this whole thing done. And we all agree, 100%, that it needs to be done. Here's my concern. We hear from people all the time, and like we just said, people don't watch, people are busy, whatever, right? Everything that ever comes up at town meeting has been discussed by some board or committee. Nothing that's on that warrant is new information. And yet, we go to town meeting, and then we have people afterwards who say to us, I didn't know you were gonna talk about that. What's that about? And they think that we're hiding something, or we're not, we're not publicizing it enough, or whatever. My concern is, Could we vote this next week and get it passed with school-minded people in the audience? Yeah, I think we probably could. My concern is you have a lot of people in this community whose votes you're gonna need at the end, and if they don't know, and they think we tricked them, or we hid it, or we weren't as upfront about it as we could be, really like hammering it home to people that, hey, we're talking about this and we need you, I'm concerned that at the end, that could sink the whole project. That's where I am just like, oh, do we wait? And do we have, public forums, have videos of the school? I mean, obviously, people can't we can't send the whole town traipsing through Central School, but do we get EBCAM in there to do some videos with you and show people what's wrong so they can watch it and just have more time with that? And then we say, look, we did everything we could. We did all the programs, we did all the events. People still either didn't pay attention or just weren't interested. But we know we did that. And that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I want it to pass.
When we did this masterpiece over here that you call home now, that was about a 9-month informational
Yeah.
process to the
It was
town. And I think those people are saying, all of a sudden this is up, but what happened to all what we did over here? And that's what they're looking for.
Sure.
We have a couple of people in the audience that have raised their hand, and if it's all right with you
Absolutely.
guys, I would like to include them. Lauren, I saw you first, and then John, you can go after Lauren.
Do I have to introduce myself or something?
This is Lauren Foster,
Lauren
Chairman of the
Foster,
School Committee.
Chair. I, of course, understand that we want the public to be as well informed as possible. I worry that putting this off to November or December could end up in the same situation that we're worried about anyway. People aren't gonna have any more information than they have now. If we have a special town meeting in December instead of October, and we're right up against our deadline of December 29th, and we get a nor'easter and the town's on power for 3 days, which has happened before, what happens then? Can we reschedule a special town meeting for a week later? Do we have to push it off a couple months, and then we miss the deadline? I worry that so much emphasis is being put on the feasibility study. We can run a PR campaign 24 hours, 7 days a week from now until we end up having to make final decisions on this project. I worry that if we put this off, we're gonna end up shooting ourselves in the foot. If we have a special town meeting separate from the one in October, is this gonna be the only article on the warrant? Because that's not gonna get anybody to show up either.
I would expect this would be the only thing
No.
unless something,
No,
I mean, there'll probably be
We always have
other,
other people that have things going. I've never been around where we've only had one article on a
Right.
special.
Because my concern would be if we have a special town meeting with only a few things on the warrant at holiday time. I mean, people can barely.
Well, we don't have a
especially if you want
quorum.
School-minded people, parents barely have the time to show up to town meeting anyway.
Right.
I think we've seen that happen over the last few years. They're not gonna be any more likely to show up in November or December, especially as we ramp up into the holidays and we have school concerts and performances and things like that.
I will say, and not to like belittle that point, but we don't have a quorum. So you need a 2/3 vote, but it can be 2/3 of 9 people.
Right. But if the whole point is to get people to be
Yes, I
informed
agree.
and everything, and then they don't show up, I worry that the benefit of waiting may not be worth the risk of losing the deadline
Yeah.
at the end. That's all.
No, and I
mean, in the end,
I agree with you on that, too. So, Mr. Margie?
My only thought on this is, the town meeting is for this one article. Granted, there could be other articles as you were just talking about. But the idea is we're gonna spend let's go with the top, we're gonna spend $1.5 million to have a feasibility study about a project that's estimated to cost $80 million.
No, that was my number. I just used that to.
We'll just use that
Yeah.
as my number.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you. So, I mean, common sense would say, before I spend the $80 million, it'd be all right to spend the $1.5 million to see if it's gonna work. Right? I mean, it's just common sense, and I don't, I'm missing something somewhere along the way, but I think that's the way you wanna go, and that's why you have a feasibility study.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna have something done in my yard or in my house, I get an estimate, right? And sometimes you have to pay for an estimate, so you pay a minimal fee, say $1.5 million for, say, $1 million bathroom I'm putting in my house, something like that. So, I think, number one, you get people out there telling them, this is a $1.5 million feasibility study for an $80 million project down the road. Do you want to find out if that $80 million project is going to work and what it's going to entail? You're going to spend this money up front to do it, and it makes sense. And I think you would get people out there. I mean, I'm one of the old people that does go to all these things. I would be there.
And I agree with that, John, I do.
We absolutely need the feasibility
Right.
study. I mean,
You
it's a
have to have it.
requirement
It's part of
anyway.
it, Right, and I agree with that, but I can tell you that, there, and we all know who they are. There'll be certain questions that come up about the feasibility study or about the project itself or whatever it may be at that meeting on Monday night, and, have a public meeting before that. Those same people, and at least in my projects, our projects that we have, the board's projects, we've seen them come out and ask those questions ahead of time so that you're prepared for what those questions might bring up, and then steer the audience of 50, 60, 100, who knows, right? We don't know what's going to be, steer them in a different direction. We've all seen it at town meetings where, you need to buy a filing cabinet. One guy gets up, says something about this filing cabinet, and next thing you know, we've got a mob, and everybody doesn't want the damn filing cabinet. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right? But that's what happens, and you just got to be prepared for those things. And I'm hoping that if there was, some time, and again, it's certainly up to this committee. We're not trying to dictate. We're just
Right.
pre-warning them of some of the factors that go on because we've been here for a long time, we've seen how these things work, and I think John can speak to this as well. Probably anyone here can speak to it that's been at a town meeting. It's giving them that opportunity, and I threw it out many a time where I've said we had the public meeting on June blah 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 whatever, 7 people showed up.
Right.
Oh.
Like your budget hearings.
And that's it. I mean, that's just kind of, but to have that ace in the hole gives you the opportunity. And maybe this thing flies. I mean, maybe, you get October 2nd and it flying colors and, you get the people in and they're like, yep, John's point, you're right, this is smart, let's do this, let's figure out what's going on. We just want to make sure that happens, that's all. That's all we're doing.
And it's not a decision that needs to be made tonight. You can make it at that meeting. It's on the warrant. You can choose to pass it over, right? I'm right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So, let's just, I hear everything that Lauren is saying, and I do worry with weather and different things like that. So yes, Chief Hearn.
Just one simple question. Where's the money coming from?
Mr. Finance Chair, do you want it?
It either needs to come from stabilization or has to be borrowed.
At the meeting last week, Mr. Selig's recommendation was stabilization, but Finance Committee and Capital are meeting tomorrow night, so that decision has not been made, but that was going to be Charlie's recommendation, that we not borrow.
The ambulance fund is what I heard. Just trying to be straight with you.
I hear you.
Are you, any other comments or questions? Anybody else from the audience? Thank you all. I
Whatever
know
you
that
decide,
this is
then
a
we'll
lot.
be there.
No, I can,
I've been
be
awake
there
at night over the last week or so
do it every
thinking
day.
about all
Oh,
this.
It's a fun game, isn't it?
Yeah, we start and go all the time, so it's,
Well,
I mean,
Getting it done
what I'm
is-
saying is getting, the end result is what we want.
Yes.
So, and I will certainly put something
do we
out,
get
put a
there?
survey out to the,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, we have the ARPA committee. Who's here
That's
from?
Mr. Margie.
Mr. Margie, ARPA committee? Are you here to talk about that?
If you want.
Well, you're on the agenda.
You have 3 minutes.
Did you bring friends, or is it just?
You have 3 minutes.
Well, hopefully Melanie's watching this.
Melanie's right here. She didn't leave you in the lurch.
She would never do that.
Yeah, we were kind of given vague.
Thank you.
We're not sure. We're gonna give you a rundown kind of where
Okay.
we are with it, and then I don't know if the idea was there were projects that you wanted to vote
Mhm.
There's
on.
one
There's a
project.
one on the
There's the-
action item.
Okay, so, do you want me to start and you can add in, or you wanna start and I'll add in?
Yeah, I'll just start for a second.
for
I
it.
just want to get something
Sounds
out.
good?
First of all, thank you for inviting us here tonight. And just want to start off by thanking the members on the committee who spent a lot of time over the past 15 months or so, 18 months. Nadia Clancy, Melanie Dean, Gigi Hurley, Dan O'Leary, Dan Pecha, Ken Rielli, who's here tonight, Dave Walsh, Paul Wolf, who are also, have been on the committee, and also the support from Charlie Seelig and Rebecca Johnson. Other than that, one other proviso that I usually say about these projects is a lot of these things are things that the town would normally do, take out of their budget. And this ARPA money, $3 or $4 million, whatever it is getting us some of those things, so the town budget isn't even being touched going forward. So it's truly something
Beneficial.
free from the
Yeah.
government. We've paid through our taxes, of course.
Prepaid.
Right. But that's, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge those things and turn it
Okay.
over to the expert, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thank you. And John's been awesome at getting all of us together and keeping this moving, so we appreciate that, because like he said, this was just the money that we were given by the government with some instruction, but a lot of leeway too. So what we have here is the 27 projects that were submitted when the town went out and opened up the application period. So the Board of Selectmen, the community members, Council on Aging, IT, Police, Recreation, and School all submitted projects under for the ARPA money. So you see here the department, the project, and the amount requested. The ARPA committee has gone through basically all of these projects, and for the most part, you'll see if the ARPA committee approved them or not. Most projects are approved. A couple were still pending information. And from there, certain projects have gone to the board to be for recommendation. And those projects, so the permitting project, the renovation of the courts at Church Street, the mental health and social emotional funding, those we've been able to move forward with our applications to Plymouth County. And the rest of the projects, if they've been approved by the ARPA committee, technically are ready to be voted on by the Board of Selectmen, but we've been, know how many at a time we've been doing. And the second page just gives you information on the funding. So there were two sources of ARPA funding. There was state funds of about 1.5 million, and there was Plymouth County funds of about 2.6 million. So this gives you the two buckets. Kind of quickly, the revenue loss column is money that we can spend very freely, and the non-revenue loss column, we have a few more stipulations. A lot of that money's, all of it's from Plymouth County, and we need projects that fall into the criteria, which could be like sewer and water projects, broadband projects, health projects. So we've already had additional projects of an ambulance and some money towards the Bedford Street sewer project and the body cams, which you've also recommended, and this shows where they fell from our funding. That's a little bit about what you have in front of you.
Okay.
I don't know if you have questions on specific projects, if you were just looking for.
No, I think they seem to just pop up here and there, you
Yeah.
know, based on the committees that have put them in front of us. Like, you know, we've got one tonight, and I know we've spoken about a few of them that, you know, once the committees decide that, you know, the recommendation has been a positive recommendation, then it's, I guess, their job to come and, you know, try to get it on the agenda with Rebecca or what the case may be, so we can push it forward. But, I mean, I don't know, should we publicize this list somewhere? I mean, or put something back out? I mean, maybe you have. How is that? Are you communicating directly with the organizations, whether it be police or Council on Aging, IT, all that stuff? Or is it just, would that be on us to do that?
Most of them probably have been in close contact with us because they've come to the meetings and presented the projects.
All right.
I kind of saw it as, you know, we were screening, say, the Council on Aging or whatever group it may be, put in the application. We kind of screen them, go through it, decide on whether we think we recommend it to you guys for approval. And my vision was that you guys have the list now of, like, we had the whole list to begin with.
Right. Yep.
You have the list now of what we've recommended.
Yep.
And then you can take from that what you will and work on that yourselves and say, okay, I want to approve item number 3.
Yep.
We want to approve or decide whether we want to approve item number 3, make a decision, or say, well, geez, we need a little more information from the committee and come back to us
Right.
with your questions and like that.
Yep.
It was kind of like, we didn't want to be holding you up. Our idea was, we wanted to get as many to you as possible so that you could act on them and have enough time within the window to
Yeah.
do that.
No, we appreciate that. I mean, because like I said, it's, once they know when it's approved, and there are certain situations, like the one today is the outdoor movie theater that I think is being presented by the rec. And, you know, they speak to someone that says, you know, you got to the end of the year, we can even maybe discount a little bit. So, you know, knowing that they've already got approval, we come in front of the board, I think we just want to make sure that each department has the understanding of what's been listed maybe. Carol, what do you think? I mean, just.
Yeah, so you guys consider yourselves done in terms of, like, you've looked at all the projects, you've made recommendations now on everything that you've received.
Call it 90%.
Okay.
Because, I mean, there's still some that
Yep.
we have open.
There's a few that, yeah, and
Yeah.
some that have already been done that we already
Right.
approved, that we just sort of took off the table.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
David?
I think what we have to do is we have to bring in those that, you know, that you have approved. We have to go through, and we're gonna have to yes or no these things, but what we're gonna need is the input from the ARPA committee on, you know, the reasoning behind it. And even more so, we may have to have a public forum type deal on those that were not approved, for those people to find out, you know, it's not an appeal process, but, you know, you didn't approve this, could you give us reasons why, type of a deal? And I don't think there's a way of them doing a second, but at least to give them the reasoning behind why they weren't approved, and give it to us in unison with the people.
Right.
And I think
That
that's
makes
what we
sense.
have to do. So we have to set up a meeting strictly for ARPA.
Yep.
And,
Talk to
and,
Charlie about
and
getting
do,
that set
and
up.
do 4 or 5 of these at a time.
Yep,
Yeah, take them in chunks.
Rather than bringing the whole chunk of them at once.
yeah.
And
Separate from our regular
prioritize-
Monday night
yeah,
meetings so
and
that we can get it
prioritize
done.
it that way.
Yeah.
I think we've got most of the representatives here in this room right now. We could probably just hand them the list.
So, just a quick
Sure.
question, before we get to those meetings, like, we've put in for funds for what feels like about 18 months ago?
Yeah.
The process has been going, so the faster we can get that information, the better off it is for us to be able to plan or execute the
Right.
plan. So I'm concerned that having a meeting to bring people in to let them know, as opposed to just letting people know you've been approved to go ahead and make those things happen. So anything we can do to expedite these things, I think would be beneficial to all of those people who applied for these things.
I agree.
So that would be my request.
Especially with
The faster,
budgets.
the better.
And budget season is coming, and so anything we can get this taken care of so that departments and committees know they don't need to budget for something because it's gonna be funded with ARPA. I think.
Which was a
yeah.
struggle that we were having.
Right.
We didn't know if we should budget or ask for money.
Right.
Because we just didn't know.
Right.
So if the answers are there, we just need the answers.
And some of it, we may be able to just look at and be like, yep, yep, yep. It would only be if we had things that we had specific questions
So
on.
maybe a suggestion would be notify the people who have been approved.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then have a meeting to circle back with, invite everybody in as to, hey, here's the reasons why and so
Yep.
forth. But speed is important.
Thank
I
you.
can talk to Charlie tomorrow about next
Yeah.
steps and
Yeah.
what we should put on the next agenda.
Yeah, sending it out, I think,
Things
is a
like
good
that.
idea, and that way,
But
then
I'm
those
thinking
committees
maybe
need
a
to meet.
separate meeting, not like one of our
I think the
regular
committee's gotta meet
meetings,
first,
you
like,
know?
so let's just take, for instance, I'm assuming you're just talking about recreation and what they have on this list that's been approved. You know, their board gets together and says, well, if we get this done now, we'll be able to, you know, save a few bucks here
Right.
potentially, or we can hold on this for a 6-month period of time. But it gives them the opportunity to sit down and at least talk about it, because I think the expedited process right now is you pick up the phone and call one of the 3 of us. That's how the expedited process has been working.
Call him.
Why don't we just get the list?
So and speaking to that, right, so you're talking, the 2 words are approved and recommended, so we recommend.
Yep.
And they approve.
Yep, right.
Right,
Yep.
so if you have a project in there and we've said, you know, we've recommended it, you know, It's up to
what's the
these guys to
likelihood
act.
You have to
that
lobby
on
to us.
something that they've approved, you're not gonna recommend, or they've recommended, you're not gonna approve?
50-50.
All right. I'll take that.
Depends.
And who, potentially who's coming up to present it, or who's looking to acquire it, right?
Right.
We
You know,
don't send you up.
some of us like jelly donuts, some of us don't. I mean, you know.
So far with no lobbying, we're 4 for 4.
Okay.
All right. thanks.
Anything
No,
else?
I'm good.
All right, thank you. It's a lot of work. It was
We
this was a
appreciate
bear to
that.
wrestle with, so we really appreciate the work of your committee.
I think you're only 75% done, we still have more questions.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Which one? Yeah,
COA.
yeah,
You jump back up to
right, right. All right, next on our agenda is the proposed heavy vehicle truck exclusion along East Street, Hayward, and High Street in East Bridgewater and West Bridgewater, and I'm guessing you are our representative from Bridgewater.
Welcome.
Hello.
I look
Come
like
on
an
up to the
outsider,
table.
huh?
Introduce yourself and,
Absolutely. Hi, thank you for having me this evening. Jeff Biandini, Project Manager with McMahon, representing the town of Bridgewater.
okay,
I'm here on behalf of the town to propose heavy vehicle exclusion along High Street in Bridgewater, which, given the anticipated vehicle routes, would extend into the town of East Bridgewater. So I'm here on behalf of the town to request that the heavy vehicle exclusion extend into East Street. And I can give you a little bit of a background on
Okay.
that. So High Street in Bridgewater right now is primarily residential. It does have some industrial, commercial uses. But from their perspective, it would be beneficial to exclude heavy vehicles along High Street. And the proposed alternative route, which heavy vehicles would take in lieu of High Street, would extend along Bedford Street on Route 18 south towards Bridgewater Center, extend on Spring Street, which essentially runs as a connector to Route 104, and then Route 104 which would terminate at the proposed heavy vehicle exclusion at High Street. So we're in the process now of putting together the proposed heavy vehicle exclusion report for submission to Mass DOT. And along with that scope includes data collection. So that data collection would need to occur along the proposed heavy vehicle exclusion route and the proposed alternative route as well. So we're here to get the town's feedback to see if the town would be amenable to the heavy vehicle exclusion on East Street, such that we could collect the data collection along East Street and then present that information to Mass DOT as part of our report.
okay.
We have, I think John and the two chiefs
I
have been involved
was
in
gonna
this
say,
conversation.
John, do you want to weigh in on any of this?
And I
Or
think,
chief, either,
I
both
think
chiefs?
both chiefs have been involved in this conversation.
All the chiefs.
I've had some conversation with representatives from your firm regarding this, and forwarded that information along to the board. Obviously, we have done traffic analysis, working with OCPC, Old Colony Planning Council as well, in the last recent years. There is a significant level of heavy truck traffic on East Street, so we are, we were literally just here, and I think I brought it up that this was coming forward when we looked at Cottage Street. We certainly are not opposed to, what Bridgewater is trying to accomplish in restricting the truck traffic on Hayward and East Street. But I think it also should be recognized that the alternative route that's being proposed, and again, to meet the criteria that, the alternative route per the traffic warrant analysis, that traffic alternative route, when you exclude a road in your town, you're supposed to show an alternative route within your own community. You've done that, you've met that warrant analysis. But in reality, and I think even the representatives I spoke with from your firm recognize that it's far more likely that traffic is actually going to be routed through East Bridgewater on our main routes of Route 106, 18 South and Route 106, than ever to look at the alternative route, which is proposed in Bridgewater, which is to go southerly on Bedford Street, Route 18, and turn left at the lights at the train tracks at Spring Street, take that small road, very small residential type road through Spring Street, kind of work through the the rear of the Bridgewater State University College campus back to the eventual destinations. It's much more likely that heavy truck traffic will occur on our Route 106. And just wanted to be in full disclosure as these discussions take place, that the town, the boards, whomever is involved in this, need to recognize that, because obviously we already have some concerns with some of our maybe more major intersections along that corridor. So it's something that, so we, as an individual or as a department head, I support the exclusion of the what Bridgewater's trying to do moving forward to take those trucks off of East Street. But I think it needs to be recognized that the major impact is actually going to be felt in East Bridgewater.
And John, I think that there's a 2-mile difference between routes. Is that
Yeah, approximately.
It's 2 miles shorter to go through 106 East Bridgewater.
And there are no.
And a lot less traffic lights.
Right, no traffic lights, no left turns. So
Yeah.
for any truck driver, they're obviously going to take, that'll route through East Bridgewater.
That's also one of our worst intersections for accidents, is 18 and 106.
Of course. Okay. Gentlemen? I'll admit, I'm a little out of my depth on this one, so.
I think we are seeing it for the first time. I think we have to take it under advisement and sit down with the two chiefs and John again, and maybe another meeting outside of here, and go through that entire traffic flow, because it does sound to me like, yeah, it may be alleviating the problem there, but it may be creating one on the other end, which I would be in favor of. But let's give it some more thought.
Yeah, I mean, our job is to obviously take the professional perspective on this, and I think we need to have discussions with all three in order to get a better understanding of what, they may think is a better idea or suggestion of some sort. So I would like a little bit more time too, just to kind of.
Yeah, we can set up a play date.
Yeah.
You'll drive around?
Yeah.
Did you have dates or deadlines or anything in mind? Is this open-ended? Or what's your time frame? Obviously not open-ended, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, understood. So our idea is to, as I mentioned, the data collection. So, we're in kind of peak data collection season right now. Weather's good, schools are back in session, it's kind of pre-holidays. So we would, request that any sort of data that we collect, we'd try to get it in the next, say, 6 weeks or so.
Okay.
For that reason. A lot of times heavy vehicle, especially, sand and gravel equipment like that, tends to run more so during the summer, early fall months than, October and November. So we're kind of waning out of our kind of ideal window. So if we could get some productive feedback in terms of what the town would be amenable to in terms of proposed vehicle routes, that would certainly drive our data collection effort forward.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Chief, Aaron.
I have no objection at all to them doing a study before we meet, so to say, discuss this.
Absolutely.
So the data collection.
I personally wouldn't mind knowing how much heavy truck traffic's on East Street.
Yeah.
Myself, but I don't think that should hold up. We shouldn't hold that up before
Right.
we're able to discuss this
That makes
as a
sense.
group in the future.
Yeah,
Go help
I
ahead
think
with the study.
the data collection.
So we could,
Vote?
I don't think you have.
I don't think you
Yeah.
need one, no.
So yeah, if you want to do the data collection,
okay.
that'll just give us more information to work with anyway.
No, yeah,
So.
that's sounds like a great plan. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Wow, look at that, action items.
All right, so let's go through these here. So obviously one, we're going to go to executive session.
Yep, pass over one.
Yep, so approve the use of opera funds in the amount of $12,843.06 for the 16:9 complete pro outdoor movie system. This is through rec.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded, any discussion?
Going
Going to the
you got anything
movies.
to say about see the movies?
You gonna have popcorn?
Widescreen.
You have a license to show these movies?
Yeah, so this was brought up to us.
You were paying attention.
From rec, because the fact is that by the end of the year, I got an email, passed it along to Teresa and PJ, and we may be able to negotiate a little bit on price because
Oh.
this is the end of the year.
Fire sale time.
Sale, yeah, right.
Nobody's buying outdoor
We'll
movie
see.
screens for.
End of the summer sale.
Right,
Okay.
so this is the highest figure that it would potentially be.
Great.
Where would the movies be shown? At the
Your house.
my house?
So we have to
a big-
discuss that because obviously someone has to learn about the equipment. Somebody has to house the equipment. And somebody.
Other than that, we have all the answers. I mean.
Mr. Kiley's over there in the corner,
Right.
turning away.
Walk in there and there'll be 15 guys sitting around watching Animal House.
I mean, is it something that can be used in different locations?
Yes, yeah, so it's
Something
portable,
movable.
yeah, they'll use it for, and they've talked to Rec, I've been to their meetings, with both John and Peter's been there. Nonprofits will be able to
Okay.
get involved and use it for
Sounds like a
fundraisers
great
and things of
idea.
that nature, so it's a good idea.
I think there's some potential for some really great
Yeah.
recreational things for the
Yep,
towns,
right,
for
absolutely.
kids and adults. So,
Okay.
all right. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Going to the movies.
Yep. Approve the change of manager, all alcohol license, common vicular automatic amusement device, Commercial Club East Bridgewater, Janet Brooks manager, 1 Nielsen Ave, 2 Debbie Polito manager.
Second.
Discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All the paperwork.
Approve the following entertainment license with the addition of licensee pay $25 for a 3-year month license from September 25th, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. Commercial Club East Bridgewater, Deb Polito, the new manager. 1 Nielsen Ave, band, karaoke, and DJ.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this will be prorated, and
the
then,
end of the
so it'll be, $25 for a 3-month period.
Okay.
And then when we do the annual licensing, it'll be the full 100.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There you go.
Good to go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome.
Approve the minutes of the September 11th, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve but not release the minutes of September 11th, 2023 Board of Selectmen executive session meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Discussion and potential vote on location for the Paul Hallinan plaque. Second.
Yes, well, second for a vote. We already have a pole down there that says crossing. And I think, I know we had talked about possibly putting it, one in the middle school and one in the police station, but the pole is already there. We can, Rebecca and I can work out some wording, and I suggest we get the plaque and put it on that.
Let's
pole.
get it done.
Right, put it on the pole.
Yeah. All right, all in favor?
The vote, the motion will be to,
We have the sign already, John? Yeah?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Waiting, sort of,
yeah.
a little more direction.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, we'll work with John.
We'll work on that.
So we're gonna defer it to you to come up with the wording and the
For-
placement we already had decided.
Yes.
On that,
Yep.
at that crosswalk. All right, all in favor?
Middle school.
Yes.
Middle school.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Proposed, we already did that. Let's see, approve and request from Danielle Venue, EBBA, to display a banner at the town common until October 7th, 2023. Banner will be 3x8 and will have the EBBA logo, event photos, and EBBA Business Expo Family Day information.
Second.
It doesn't say when they want to put it up, is that like just immediately as soon as we?
As soon as we approve.
Okay,
As soon as we give them approval.
like right now?
Yeah.
All right.
They're out there now.
All, with a hammer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Approve the request from the Veteran Service Officer Chris Buckley for the use of the town common and town parking lot for a Tri-Town Veterans Parade on November 11th, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approve the request of Diane Kennedy Wackel of the Kiwanis Club of East Bridgewater for the use of the town common for annual lighting of the town common and town tree on Thursday, November 30th, 2023, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that is all I have for you.
Great. Rebecca, announcements?
Just a reminder, the special town meeting will take place October 2nd.
Really?
Next Monday. 7:00 PM at the Junior Senior High School Auditorium, 143 Plymouth Street. And the community shredding, prescription drug, needle, oil-based paint, and large battery take-back event will take place at the East Bridgewater Council on Aging, Saturday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 355 Plymouth Street, for East Bridgewater residents only.
Great.
That's it.
Thank you. There's no town administrator tonight, so there's no town administrator report. Board discussions. David?
An update on the bicentennial, excuse me, on next Saturday, next Friday and Saturday, the scouts, all the scout troops from around town will be having a jamboree at the East Bridgewater Senior Community Center. They'll have a Friday night, and then on Saturday morning, starting at 10 o'clock, they'll have an open house for all interested people. There are some dedications and stuff going on that day, and I understand that Dale Julius will, they said a few words, but we know that's not going to happen. But he'll be there at 10 o'clock, and they'll be out there. They're going to earn some badges and stuff that weekend, and we're looking forward to catching up with that. That same Saturday night, 7 o'clock at the Junior Senior High School, we have the Brockton Symphony Orchestra coming in. They've put together quite a program here, which covers all kinds of things. It looks like they're going to be running for about 2 hours with an intermission. It's a free event and starts at 7. We suggest you get there early for good seating. The next trolley trip around town will be on October 14th. We will have the information online to sign up for those trips at the latest sometime tomorrow afternoon, Katie. And right after that, actually, it's already out there on October 17th, is it? The
21st.
The 21st.
The bash. The bicentennial bash.
There's a little dance going on at the Commercial Club. Tickets are already online. We suggest you get them because there is a maximum we can have in that hall, but we're looking forward to it.
With 4 in a row.
4 in a row will be entertaining us again as they did at the high school. And they did at the Council on Aging 10 years ago for their first event. And that is our updates.
All right. Peter?
No, just congratulations to the fire and police for putting on their rain-filled golf tournament this past Monday. Well, not this, yeah, a week ago, I guess. As always, they did a great job, even with the circumstances being what they are, as it poured. But the event was great, and again, make sure you guys know it was a good event and well attended. That's it.
Great. All right. Then I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
And not return.
We will not return to open session tonight.
Make the motion?
You have to read it.
You have to read it.
I'm going to read that, but
You can't say as is.
No, not on this one.
not this one. Pursuant to the MGL, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police chief, deputy police chief. Pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation in the open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation positions of the public body, and the chair so declares. Firefighters, superior officers, clerical, DPW, dispatchers, superior officers, patrol officers, library. I, Peter Spagone.
Hi, Carol Julius.
Hi, David Sheedy.
Okay.
Good night, see you next Monday.
Kenny still here?
Good night, everybody.